Hello, everybody. My name is Seth Seward. I'm Assistant Director for Alumni Groups here from the Miami University Alumni Association. We're here for a great webinar today to celebrate some wonderful history of our 40th anniversary of our Bridges program, which brings students from underrepresented backgrounds all around from the state of Ohio and out of state to campus for a visit and expanded later on into some programming. And so today we have a couple of our founders of the program, Wayne Dancie, class of 81. He's the founder of WLD Consulting, Inc. This company does boutique business advisory, management consulting, interim executive staffing firm to closely held companies. As he studied finance and accounting at Miami. And he found his wife, Paula Garden Dancie, class of 81. And his children, Leah and Wayne Jr., also attended Miami as well. And we have his fraternity brother, also, with Doug Banks, also class of 1981. And so he is a recently retired VP of Supervision and Regulation at the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, Ohio. So he's very involved with the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, the alumni chapter there in Cleveland. He also had found his wife at Miami as well, Kelly Banks, also class of 81. And his children, William and Mackenzie, also attended Miami as well. And so we also have a fellow alum here who came to Miami via the Bridges program, Kayla Carson, class of 2018. She's currently a recruiter for Macy's. She's also a member of our board of directors for Miami University Alumni Association. And we're glad to have her on here. And we got a student, a current student here, Chase Harris, who's our president of our Black Student Action Association. He takes part in our Bridges Scholars Program. And so he'll share more about that later on in this webinar. And so a little brief history of Bridges, as it started in November of 1981, November 6, 1981, which brought 130 students here to campus. It can expand it on later on to include multiple dates, multiple weekends of students to come from various cities around the state of Ohio. They typically have 600 students that come in the program, and not 97%, so 90 over 90% that are admitted into the program are also admitted into Miami, with about 45% to 50% of them ultimately attending Miami. And so let's go ahead and start with how Bridges started with our founders here, Wayne and Doug. And so talk about students, talk about your experience as students at Miami, and what went into deciding to start the Bridges program. What was the genesis of that? And either of you can go first.
Doug, go ahead. You go first. I'll let you go first, my friend.
Okay. All right. The first part of that question, Seth, in terms of coming to Miami as an incoming freshman, I never attended Miami or visited Miami. So coming down for registration in June was my first opportunity to see the campus. Then coming back in August as enrolled freshman. And it was really kind of overwhelming in terms of what to expect, the classes that we would encounter, but the lack of diversity. And I came from a predominantly white high school, so I was accustomed to that, but I expected to see a lot more students, a lot more diversity than what I was initially exposed to. Wayne and I had met previously at a function in June of that year of 1977 that the Cleveland alumni chapter of Miami put on. And myself and my then incoming freshman roommate, who was from my same high school, met Wayne, and we were the only people of color at that event. And lo and behold, Wayne and I became fast friends. We were in the same freshman dorm, Anderson dorm. He lived on the first floor and I lived on the third floor. And from there, it really sparked a lot of interest and curiosity. And before you know it, we both were accounting majors and finance majors, taking a lot of classes in Laws Hall and had some similar and common interests. So we became fast friends. But I think what really got us together is the ability for us to kind of spitball ideas and off each other and kind of brainstorm, if you will, things that we thought we can improve upon, and come up with ideas and ways of introducing those to other students, and also through the organizations, such as with folks like Larry Young. Everybody knew Larry from the Multicultural Center, and then later on for us to meet Gary Hunter, who came to Miami as the EOC officer. And so with that, and Wayne and I really just kind of played off each other and came up with a number of initiatives and ideas along the way, fraternity being one of them. But at the same time, the organization that we first really cut our teeth on, and I want to give a special shout out if he's on, Cedric Turner. We worked with Cedric to put in place the Minority Professional Association, was largely focused on the students of color, the Black students that were in the business school. And Gary Hunter was our advisor for that. So when you can take it from there in terms of putting the brass tacks of our proposal together junior year.
Okay, I just real briefly, I'm a native Clevelander. I graduated from Cleveland Public Schools, John Hay High School. And I actually, a first generation college student, come from a working poor background. My mom set the goal to go to school. I knew nothing about college. I never even saw Miami until I came down, until I moved in that weekend. So we actually got lost, ended up in Indiana before we made it to Miami. And I never knew Ohio had so many small schools. But the thing that I wanted to say is that I was so ignorant about school and life that our guidance counselor asked us for 3 in-state school. I knew about Ohio State. That was my favorite school because of the football program. And I knew about Cleveland State because I could ride the bus by it. So I was struggling with a 3rd school. And there was a young lady that I wanted to date that was sitting outside the counselor's office that day. And I overheard her say Miami. I recognized Miami as a football powerhouse. They had won 3 straight bowl games in the mid-'70s. So I thought, oh, good football. So I put Miami on the list. When I shared that with my guidance counselor, he tried to talk me out of going to Miami. He said the racial climate in Miami was not something that I would do well. He really didn't think I would survive there. And he tried to talk me out of it. So literally, as soon as he finished talking, I had decided, if accepted, I was going to Miami. Sight unseen, didn't know anything about Miami. I learned after that meeting that Miami was one of the top 3 schools in accounting in the state based on the number of people that passed the CPA exam. So when I got to Miami, like Doug said, I expected it to be, racially, it wasn't something that I expected to be like where I was leaving, where my high school was 95+% Black. Miami was the opposite. It was 97.5% not Black, right? So I just felt, though, it was such a great university. When I first saw the stables coming up 73 and then the clock towers and all the red brick and Anderson Hall, everything was so beautiful. And then after being there for a few weeks, I really felt that if people can come to Miami and just experience it, that they would be sold. It would be a possibility. And particularly people like me from the urban inner city schools, I thought that was sort of my mindset. So sophomore year, I got involved with Associated Student Government. I was on the committee that established, back then we called it the Minority Affairs, Office of Minority Affairs of ASG. Today, I think it's called Diversity and Inclusion, if I'm not mistaken, office. But we established that office, and in that process, we focused on recruitment. The first thing we did is we produced a recruitment brochure targeted for minorities. It was the very first one ever produced. But we never really went beyond that. So junior year, after joining the fraternity, and Doug and I really spent a lot of time with each other talking about how to grow the fraternity, what the risks are of it surviving. One of the things that we knew is we needed more Black students on the campus. We needed more minority students on the campus. So we literally sat at my dining room table, and we we came up with ideas, and one of the things was a weekend. And we thought if we get minority students down to Miami, that we would have the opportunity to expand Miami's minority reach. So we wrote that proposal over a course of a couple nights, sitting at our dining room table, and we really thought through what would make that experience beneficial to those that would attend. So I'm trying to be short in order to.
Can you talk a little bit more about the process? So, students that have a desire to make change, to do make things happen on campus, what did you do to make it happen? What do you both do?
Well, I think one of the big things is you have to understand what institutions are available. At that time, ASG was actually fairly new itself. It was only maybe 4 or 5 years old, but there were students that were active, that they wanted to make change. And Doug and I were the kind of people that we saw a problem. We had a philosophy about life, and I still live it this way today, and that is either part of the problem or part of the solution. And if you're going to be part of the solution, you either lead, follow, or get out the way. So when we saw a problem, we thought that we could come up with ways to help. And the biggest thing was work with guidance counselor, work with the alumni, in particular the minority alumni. I'll let Doug talk about how we did that, to generate interest, excitement, and bring students to Miami. And once they got to Miami, then we wanted to give them that full college experience. I didn't have any idea what college would be like. In high school, I would sit in class, listen, and I could get an A or B. If I did any study, I got an A, I got a B. I came to Miami, I tried to do that. I ended up on academic probation after my first year. Sophomore year, I learned how to study, right? But my point was, I had no clue what I was doing. So we wanted to prepare students, not only the cultural part, but just give them a sense that, hey, high school and college are two different things. So the first thing we did is, we sat down and we came up with an idea and a proposal. Then we start talking to people around the university that need to be a part of the process. And that's the most, we talked to admissions. I talked to people in USEF. I talked to alumni. We talked to, we even called other schools. Miami had the lowest minority enrollment at the time. What I found interesting was Ohio U, which is very similar to Miami demographically, location, and everything. In terms of location, it had 4 times the minority enrollment than Miami did. So I called Ohio U. Same thing with Bowling Green, who I also thought was similar to. They had 2.5, 3 times the number of enrollment. So, and we got ideas and things like that. But the most important thing is we found out what the issues were, and in who we had to have as a part of the process of making something happen. And then it started with a hardcore proposal. But originally, we were going to try to do this weekend. We were naive, at least I know I was. We were going to try to do this weekend alone, in terms of without a lot of support from the university. We were going to work with alumni, and we were going to do this weekend. And we thought then the university would embrace it. And in some respects, that is what happened. The Bridges became a student initiative that has been embraced by the university. So, it wasn't quite the way we envisioned it in the beginning, but I think that's pretty accurate. We were going to do it alone because we thought we had to. Would you agree with that, Doug?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I don't think we were naive. I think we were just being overly zealous in the way that we could solve problems within our control. So, the point was, if we thought we can get the students there, we could take care of the rest.
Right.
Okay. From housing to giving them the experience to have them go back with this indelible impression that Miami was a good fit for them. Okay. Their academic needs, their social needs, their cultural needs, and we would take care. The only problem that we had was, how do you get the students there? So we came up with the idea, and we presented it to Larry Young, that if we had an audience with the alumni, we could convince them to be part of our feeder process and also part of our monetary process. So we had a meeting right after the football game, homecoming weekend over at Laws Hall. Since we're business students, we're very familiar with that. It was right across the street, diagonally from Old Yager Stadium. And the group convened. It was probably about 24 or so Black alums, and really pitched this idea of them being involved in two ways. One was identifying students. Who better to tell the story to other interested Black potential students than Black alumni in those locations of Cleveland and Akron and Canton and Toledo, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Dayton. We were really focused on the major cities in Cleveland. And how do we get them there? Well, if we can engage the alumni and help them to see the point, they would actually put up the funds for the buses, and the buses would originate from Cleveland and pick up students from Akron and Canton and come down, and same thing coming from Toledo, pick up students from Dayton, and then Columbus and in Cincinnati. We thought maybe we can have parents drop them off, but the point was we would host the entire weekend, put them in with students for housing, have laid out an entire weekend of activities, from fun activities to learning experience activities, by having mock classrooms experience. Take them through, obviously see the wonderful campus of Miami and all the amenities Miami had to offer back in the 70s. And for them to go back and tell their parents and go back and tell their guidance counselors. One of the things that we knew and understood from those coming from urban areas is that the guidance counselors were not encouraging students, Black students in particular, to apply to Miami. They didn't think socially they could adjust, and academically was too rigorous. But if we were able to create that bridge, to use that word intentionally, for them to come and experience it and go back and spread that word, then you'll probably increase the chances of them first applying and then coming. So that was the whole concept. Get them there and they will come.
Amen. And what happened was, quite frankly, the alumni didn't respond as we thought they would. They were curious about us and some of the things going on, but they really didn't embrace initially this effort. So at that point in time, I was serving as the second year of the Office of Minority Affairs at Student Government. So what I did is I went to Gary Hunter and I proposed to Gary Hunter, this is, what we want to do, because that was part of his charter as the EEOC officer. And Gary Hunter was really a mentor in helping me understand how to really navigate or start the process of making this happen as part of an ASG more initiative than it was just Wayne and Doug initiative. And then I also went and talked to who was probably my number one mentor while I was a student government officer, John Ross. John Ross was the chief of staff of then President Phil Schreiber. And he really laid out all of the components that we hadn't thought about that was going to be necessary for us to pull this weekend off. For instance, because it was underage students, we had to have security involved. We had to deal with the dining halls, make sure they had access to the dining halls. We had to, make sure that there was place for the buses to be parked if they were going to stay. There was all these issues that we didn't do. We had to get clearance from the academic building to have an academic building. We had to solicit a teacher or professor that was willing to be a part of the program. All these processes. John Ross was very helpful, he and Gary, in showing me, directing me where we needed to go. And we had all kinds of support. People were energized by it. Talked to Musef because, they did the annual, the daily tours. So just talk to them about the process. I learned through that they actually hosted a select group of students as well. So, I got some insight as to what was going on there. So it was really a learning process about who, what, when, and where. And then we had to address, I'll just be short with this, we had to address some of the issues that came up. There was a belief back then, I sat on several university committees, there was a belief back then that any minority-specific recruitment meant lowering our mission standards. Miami was considered the Yale of the Midwest at that time. This predates the designation as a public Ivy. But there was a concern that we had to lower our standards, which Doug and I came in under regular admission, so I didn't see where that was a big issue, but that was big at the time. There was also a concern, like Doug said, about funding. What I learned when I talked to all these different people is all these different departments had a little bit of money that they could contribute to the funding if we did it right? So you had to have a lot of people buy in. And then we also, once Doug and I put the proposal together and we costed it out, the funding needs were actually a lot less than we thought they would be. John Ross, once he saw the number, he saw, we'll get you the funding, don't worry about that. And this was October of 80. By December of 80, I was pretty sure that we would be able to pull off the weekend. I had the support of the right people to make sure that we had the funding and we could put all the other pieces together. But there still was this belief that this effort was going to undermine Miami's status academically. And because of that, now I'll close with this, because of that, we did not publicize this at all. You go back through the students, you won't see articles about that. We talked about getting ethics studies course as a part of the university requirement, which we did do. It's a 40th year anniversary for that as well. And there were other initiatives we would promote. We did not promote this because we didn't want the alumni, the faculty and others to, let's say, just put roadblocks into place.
Wonderful. So all that is great information. I just want to add, so I brought up Larry Young. He's a Black alum, class of 1965. He led the Office of Minority Affairs at the time under the Office of Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which was led by Gary Hutter. We also want to highlight the fact that Wayne and Doug graduated once the proposal was accepted and backed by the university. They graduated, and then in November later that year, 1981, Kathy Cohen and was serving with Larry Young and others to help implement the program of 130 students to outline with the bus that picked up folks from Cleveland, Toledo, Akron, all the way down, Columbus and Cincinnati, and we had some folks that came from Talawanda to participate as well. And so we want to salute and bring up those names. And so let's go ahead and get to some of our other guests here. Luke and Kayla Carson. And so what happened is that it expanded from just a one-day visit of students from around Ohio to Miami to multiple weekends of visits, up to originally then 130 students. Now it's typically 600 students. And so Kayla came here from Dayton 5 or 6 years ago as a student. And so Kayla, can you talk about your experience coming to Miami through the Bridges program and how that led to your decision to decide on Miami?
Definitely. So thanks for having me, Seth. It's great to be here and to have this wonderful story in this conversation. So as Seth mentioned, I'm the class of 18, so it must have been 2013, 2014 when I found out about the Bridges program. And I had a unique kind of story with Miami. I was in a program when I was in middle school called Project Ahead, and Project Ahead brought younger students from Dayton to Miami for 2 weeks over the summer. We stayed in dorms. We had little baby classes that we went to, and we did that for, I want to say 4 or 5 years. We had a grant for that. And so I had this huge familiarity with Miami, and the opportunity to go back to do the Bridges program was something I did not want to turn down. And I distinctly remember my weekend at Bridges. I remember the students I stayed with. And, one of my hosts from Bridges, she now lives in Atlanta where I live. And it's just so funny how we've been able to stay in touch. And I will always, remember staying with them. I remember we went to Pulley Diner around maybe 11:30 at night, eating a toasted roll and like covered in powdered sugar. And I'm like, this is the life I want to live, right? And we went to the little market and got snacks and stuff. And I'm like, well, if this is college, sign me up, right? So I knew, and I felt that it was going to be a good fit for me once you're able to really walk the campus without adults and without any grown-ups with you, and you're just hanging out with the students. You feel cool. It's great to be involved with that. So, I accepted. And it's also fantastic. They didn't even get to mention that when they first had the program in mind, the scholarship component wasn't even part of it, right? But for a student like me, that made a huge difference. And so I was thrilled that I not only got to have that great experience, but then to have that financial assistance as well really showed Miami's commitment to building up their diversity and making it a place where diverse students were going to succeed. So, and then coming on campus, I was super involved. And I would say a lot of that stemmed from things that I learned from my Bridges hosts. I saw their involvement. I got involved with some of the things they were in, not to be a total copycat, but I was inspired, right? So getting involved with the Government Relations Network and the Student Credit Union. I was also involved with PSE and Miami Ambassadors Creating Change. So that was through Office of Admission and supporting Bridges while I was there as well. And of course, I hosted at least 2 years, got all my friends on board. So it was a super influential experience for me. One that I loved, one that, I would tell any student who had the invitation to go to absolutely go and really feel that campus for yourself. And it made a huge difference for me. It solidified my confidence in my choice. Absolutely.
So she did mention the scholarship component, which is from $2,500 to $5,000 annually, and it can be stacked with other Miami awards through financial aid, and so that is a big deal. So how did Miami prepare you for what you're doing now in your career?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say that one of the greatest things that Miami did for us was just the ease and accessibility of working with the Career Center for Exploration. So I had so much practice and so much readiness, I felt like, for my interactions with employers, which I knew once I graduated, I just wanted to hop right into the workforce and start bringing home that bacon, right? So just being able to have that resume prep. I had no resume before I got to college. It wasn't even, on my mind. So really starting from scratch in terms of resume connections or, building my resume, building my elevator pitch, and then also the connections that your professors have and how much they have your back. I absolutely love that, right? So a lot of the professors in pharma, they come from industry. So if they find out, oh, you have an interest in this particular employer, you want to work at P&G, I was there for 10 years. Let me see if my connect is still there. So just that willingness, or to connect you with alumni that professors might know, also goes a long way. So I would say that was a huge help in getting me ready for my career with Macy's. And it's also funny now as a recruiter, as a campus recruiter specifically, like, you can tell when students are prepared, and you can tell when they have that extra confidence or that really sharp resume, a lot of which come from Miami, I will say. So, there was so many resources made available.
Wonderful. So we're glad to hear that your positive experience through the program. And let's bring in Chase. Also throughout the years, expanded to the Bridges Scholar Program, which supports students that come to Miami through the Bridges program with the Living Learning Community, with student organization, and other supports through the Student Success Center, which is led by alumna Dr. Monika Adkins currently. And so Chase, can you tell us about your experience of how you decided to come to Miami and how you came here through the Bridges program? We'll go from there.
Yeah, so the Bridges Scholars Program kind of what sold me to actually come here to Miami, because I had a little bit involvement before, but that was kind of like more social. But just the Bridges Scholars Program just showed me that Miami really valued diversity and was really intentional about making sure that their students knew about it. So I'm thinking back to when I actually came, and that 2-night overnight stay was just like very impactful. I remember just meeting other students who really cared about diversity and inclusion. And I'll never forget, we did a workshop, and we actually did like a social identity wheel. So like through that workshop, we got to talk about like different identities that we had individually and how that all intersected. And that just really like impacted me, just showing that Miami actually cared about diversity. And I'll never forget, the MPHC actually did a program when I came, and I think they did a Jeopardy game, and just seeing like other Black students like me that were in college really solidified my decision to come here at Miami.
And so Chase is going to be graduating this year. So tell us about your experiences on campus, what you're doing, and tell us, specifically first about the Bridges Scholars Program, and then go from there.
Yeah, so the Bridges Scholars has like a student organization on campus, and it's kind of like stemming off like doing the pre-semester program. And that program was just like really helpful because it's actually like a research component. I don't know if I mentioned before, like I'm fed, so like research is like a big thing. So I got to take a first year, it's like FIRE program. And basically I got to do my own little project, and it was like focusing on study habits for like college students here in Miami. So through the Bridges program, giving me that opportunity to do research as a freshman was like a big deal. And that like really prepared me career-wise. Because actually the next 2 years I was able to get an undergraduate research internship at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. So just the Bridges Scholars Program helped me build those skills, increase my skill set to have me be successful as a student inside and outside the classroom.
And tell us about what other things you're doing. You're president of BSWA.
Oh yeah, I'm also
already
of the Black Student Action Association. And actually 2 weeks ago, we did a program for the Bridges students. And I think it was 2 Sundays ago, and we had Bridges students from Cincinnati and Dayton. We did a Jeopardy game, and that was like really good. Just giving back to the Bridges Scholars Program since it's given so much to me. So that was like such a great experience.
And what are your future aspirations after Miami?
Yeah, so right now I'm studying for the MCAT. So my overall goal is med school. Right now I'm studying for the MCAT, and in January I'll be applying to post-bac master's programs that will help me matriculate into medical school.
Wonderful. And so let's go ahead and bring everybody back in here. I want to make sure I highlight that alumna Jonika Moore leads the admissions side of the program. And so they recently won an award, a STEM award for the work of students that come to Miami and specifically engage with our STEM professors. And so we salute her for that work there. So this is a question for everybody here. And we can, I guess we can start with the founders first. What advice would you give to students going through the program? We'll start with Doug, and then we go with Wayne.
Well, I think the advice I would give, and you probably can imagine Wayne and I as students back in 1977, starting at Miami University and trying to make our way. And sometimes that way isn't a clear path. So you have to make your way. And by doing so, you make friends, you make different relationships along the way to help you find your pathway. So that's the first thing I would say. Reach out to others, whether they're peers or whether they're part of the faculty or staff, to help you discover that pathway. If it's not there, then help you to create that. The second thing is, if you can imagine it, you probably can achieve it. And I think that Wayne and I, hearing Kayla and hearing Chase talk about something that we just came up with, brainstormed over Wayne's kitchen table, and you reaping the benefits, because we didn't reap the benefits of the things that we started at Miami. It's good to see that those things took on and it grew, and to hear you guys talk about it. Our fundamental premise was to get them there, and get you there means not only to see the beautiful physical setting of Miami, but to experience all that it has to offer, although it may not be plainly seen by Black students coming, that all of this is there for you. We wanted you to see that, experience that, and feel that after you left, and we're going to help you to gain that foothold, if you will. So the last thing I would say is it's important to continue building on that bridge. One of the questions I see that someone asked about Wayne and I, how do we feel about the Bridges program? awesome. I feel awesome that this has lasted this long. But Wayne and I have been engaged, active alums, both in terms of our willingness to help students come. We've hosted students in Cleveland. We've been part of the Alumni Area Resource Network. I even went to various high schools in inner city Cleveland with some of the admissions counselors to give testimony about graduates and what they've gone on to do after they graduated. Hosted events in Cleveland, as well as coming down to Oxford. So, you know, this just creates the very beginning of a wonderful experience. And for you to go on, it's great to hear, Kayla, being part of the Alumni Association just a couple of years out from graduation. I was part of the very first Black alumni reunion that was held in 1985. And hopefully there's people still remember that. After I graduated in 81, and we convened in 1983 to put that together. And I was part of the first two reunions. And Wayne, likewise. We both have also been back as part of, formerly it was part of the program, riding buses with the students to ensure that they had someone responsible in the bus and see their faces, because they had no way of knowing that we were people behind the beginnings of the Bridges program. They just saw us as a Miami alum. So I think with all that, you know, it really helps to create that basis and that connection back to Miami. And now I'll pass it over to Wayne.
Yeah, and the first comment I will make is everybody, you need a Doug Banks in your life. No, I mean sincerely, Doug is, my battery. Doug is a guy who is steady. Forgive me for going off my battery somehow. Doug is a guy who's steady. And the most important thing about Doug, there we go. Now,
learn to adapt and overcome.
Okay.
You see it live.
You to be your best. You need somebody in your life.
I guess he kicked the plug on that one.
Okay, let's come back to Wayne. Kayla, you want to go ahead and share what advice you give to students?
Definitely. So my advice to students in the program are getting ready to begin their collegiate journey. I would just say stay curious. I think that staying curious, staying open-minded to the different paths and things that can be made available to you will help you to really approach your opportunities with this wide lens of what can be. I think that, you know, I see a lot in the business school. You go in, you pick your degree, you study that for 4 years, you work in that. And sometimes it's not until years later that you're thinking, what if I had pursued this, tried this, had a conversation about this, or ventured out? I think that for a lot of students, students of color specifically, looking at Miami in and of itself as a potential school for you might be you being curious. And I say that that should be applauded, right? So really testing the limits and using the years that you're going to spend in college to just be open-minded and try it all. Like, I think that that would go a long way. I know for me, Miami was an easy pick, right? But for everyone, it's not that way. And so I think just staying curious, having lots of conversations, going to hear the speakers that are on campus, going to the different events, and really just seeing what you like and finding out. So stay curious is my advice.
All right, wonderful. So let's go back to Wayne. So you said everybody needs a Doug Banks.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I was plugged in. I guess I wasn't. See, Doug, okay. If Doug was here, I'd be right.
but you're back. You're back. So go ahead.
Yes, I am. No, everybody needs somebody in their life that helps you see who you can be, that helps draw you out. You really need that in your life. Sometimes that means tough conversations. Sometimes that means loving on you. You know what I mean? But in all ways, you're a better person because they're in your life. So, avail yourself of people in your life that can, and let them speak into you. That's important. We have had a lifelong friendship. And even if we don't see each other for a while, he still can draw out of me things that I didn't know was there, right? Or see it. So we all need that. Be engaged. What I love about Miami, what employers love about Miami graduates are we are engaged. We know how to make things happen. Miami, I think there's been a cultural shift at Miami, candidly. It occurred under President Garland. I think before that, Miami wasn't necessarily a destination school for a large portion of people. Today, I'd say Miami's a destination school. When we were down there, a lot of people, if you talk to them, you sort of were at Miami because your first choice or second choice wasn't available, right? And so we walked around with a little bit of a chip on our shoulders. We were going to prove to those people that denied us that they made a mistake, right? So we looked for the world, and we went and tackled the world, and we just went after it. Miami gives you the opportunity to be engaged. You go to other campuses, they don't have 400 student organizations. You know what I mean? We created organizations. You can create almost anything you want to do or be involved. So really engage while you're there. And the one comment I would make, and I think somebody said it, and that is network. Keep those networks active and make connections with people, all kinds of people. Bridges taught me that even though candidly Larry Young and I didn't work well together at times, I thank God for Larry, because we needed Larry to get this thing over the finish line and launch. You know what I'm saying? So today I have to say, hey, if it wasn't for Larry and Kathy Cohen, who was my assistant at the time, chief of staff, they're the ones that actually made it reality. Yeah, we put everything in place, but it was them. So you gotta keep those networks together, because you never know. You just never know. That's all. Life is interesting.
Let's bring in our student here, Chase. What would you tell your fellow students or incoming students that are going through the Bridges program?
Yes, I'll definitely say, especially if they come here, kind of bouncing off what Wayne said, but your network is really your network. And really be intentional about engaging with other students here. If you're attending the program over the weekend, talk to them, see how they like Miami. Write their number down, because especially you come here, they can definitely be a resource to you. Talk to faculty as well. I know, like for me, I have so many opportunities just by talking to faculty, because a lot of faculty students don't come and approach them often. Like I got to go on a trip to Yale just from talking to one of the PhD students here, and I know if I never did that, I wouldn't have the opportunity. So I'll definitely say your network is your network. So making sure you're always willing to just engage with other people and learn about their stories, because you never know who they know and how they can help you.
Amen.
So I have a last really quick question for folks, but someone did ask about the demographics at Miami. So let's go through. So this is 71% white right now. And so I'll just give you the numbers as far as particular numbers. So we have 419 Asian identified students. And this is as of the 2019 report. 594 Black students. These are undergrads, specifically at Oxford. So these numbers are undergrad. 886 Hispanic Latinx identified students. We have about 665 multiracial students. And currently we have about 1,453 non-residential alien students as of the 2019 report that's available online. And so my last question is, since it's the 40th anniversary, so briefly,
can I say something? I'm sorry, real quickly about that. That's the proof. I mean, congratulations, Miami, because 97.5% white when we entered Miami University. So even though we would want those numbers to even be better, more diverse, that's a huge change for Miami. It was 97.5% white. And so congratulations to the alumni, congratulations to admissions, congratulations, Miami.
Yes, and so I just wanted to add that the Bridges program to bring students not just with the racial and ethnic backgrounds, but socioeconomic, gender identity, sexual orientation. So it's a wide spectrum of diversity and multicultural students that come annually to the Bridges program. And so my last question, briefly. So what is the 40th? What does it mean, for the Bridges program's 40th anniversary that we're celebrating now? What does that mean to you, briefly? And we'll start with Chase?
Okay, good question. I just really think it's celebrating diversity and just emphasizing how important it is for schools to value that in their students, because people from diverse backgrounds always bring something new to the table, and I think that's just very valuable.
All right, and we'll start next with Kayla.
I think that celebrating 40 years of this program really speaks to that passion of Miami students to build something even better than what they got to enjoy. And I think that that's really special. And especially, I can't say that when I was in the program, I knew it was started by students, right? I probably assumed it was started by the Office of Admission, and hearing that it was started by alum makes it that much more meaningful. And I think that says a lot about Miami. And I'm excited to see over the next 40 years, what students are able to come up with and how they're able to make our school even better and our legacy even stronger.
Doug?
Yeah, thinking about 40 years, one makes me say I'm getting old. That part is clear. But as Wayne pointed out, the demographics change. I think that I want to say, it's certainly heartwarming to me to hear that, Wayne and I's idea that we sprouted back in 1980, took root and had some positive impact, because that's what we were trying to do at that time. Little did I know that Miami would take it and run with it. I was pleasantly surprised. One, it was embraced by the admissions office. We thought we had, as Wayne mentioned, we had to do it alone, thinking about how to fund it, how to operate it. So it's great to hear that it was brought it within the institution and embraced. Secondly, the money component, Wayne and I could never imagine that, to put that. We were thinking, how do you financially support a program such as this, as opposed to, okay, what is the commitment? And here Kayla and Chase talk about, this was testament of Miami's commitment. I couldn't have fathomed that in my wildest imagination that Miami would give $2,500 to $5,000 stacked on top of any kind of money that they're currently receiving. And so I'm proud to say I was part of this and worked, alongside with my true friend, my true brother, Wayne Dancie. You also need another Wayne Dancie in your life because he keeps you grounded. Okay. And you need to have folks that's part of your inner circle that you can create the energy and you can grow from. It pushes you to your limit. Okay. And that's what, the Miami experience is about, is you finding yourself, you making your way, creating that pathway. As testament, Wayne and I were not good students. Okay. As viewed by the metric of what constitutes a good student by GPA. But if you look at, the indelible impression and the shadow that we cast, most of the administration thought we were good students and would invite us to the table because they knew that we'd get things done until they saw our grades. Okay. But we did graduate on time. And so it's great to know that how you overcome challenges and obstacles too. So that you can create that pathway and go on to become the person that you want and you envision yourself to be. Okay. So thanks.
All right. Wayne, bring it home for us.
Awesome. A year before, in 1979, we came out with this brochure, and Larry Young wrote a very nice letter in that brochure, but he said, Miami, we're changing. Be a part. He said there was an old Miami and there's a new Miami specifically for minorities. And I just think that what Miami has done is, and Kayla and Chase both said the same thing, it showed that Miami was serious and committed by the commitment they made to Bridges programs. And Doug is right. When I learned they were adding a scholarship part to this, I was floored. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying, man, why couldn't I get in on that deal? And but to be totally honest, it's bittersweet. I'm very proud of what Miami has done. I'm proud of the opportunities for people that have followed us. I'm very proud of my time at Miami. It was absolutely awesome. I wouldn't change it for anything. But I didn't think it'd be necessary at this stage of life. You know, I really thought that we'd get it started and there'd be an organic growth and there'd be greater diversity. So that part of it, you know, is a little bit bitter. But I am very, very, hopefully not out, but I'm proud. It's funny. I'll say this and I'll close with this. Over the years, particularly the last 10 years, I've had so many conversations with either parents or students that are college age telling me about Bridges. Oh, how excited they either went to the Bridges or they heard about Bridges, or I mean, guidance counselors now are saying, oh yeah, well, I know about Bridges. I recommended some students for it. And, you know, sometimes I've shared with them my involvement. Other times I've just listened, and it's just wonderful to know your life had a value beyond yourself. And that's the way you want to live life. You want to live life not only achieving your goals, but leaving something for others that make their lives better. So with that, I thank Miami for the opportunity to be engaged to the point of having a legacy that now spans 40 years. Who knows how long it'll go. I pray that everybody that's on Miami's campus now or future students, that you take that opportunity to do the same thing, because that's what life's about. And again, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, Seth, for organizing this. It is so great to hear Chase and Kayla's story. You don't know how we warmed our heart that you guys expressed what we were hoping when we sat down and started this journey.
Wonderful. And so just kind of just bring a more personal perspective. When I was a student at Miami, when I ran into Wayne at Shriver Center when his daughter was here, he said, "Oh, I started Bridges." I said, "You did what?" He started the Bridges program. And I still remember with his daughter Leah, the students were coming. She was, I think she had mentioned, "Oh, my dad started it," and you know, she was involved, maybe hosting students and get other students involved. And so that's so nice to see. And I just want to thank all the alumni who serve as chaperones from different cities around Ohio that come on the bus and you know, make sure students get on the bus to come down. So I salute all the alumni that have done that in the past. And so we just thank Wayne and Doug for your contributions. You made such an impact on this university. I don't know how else I can express that to the both of you. So we thank you both for your contributions. And you see the legacy here in Kayla here serving on our alumni board of directors for the Miami University Alumni Association. And then we have Chase, who's leading our Black Student Action Association, is a future physician himself. And so we thank everybody for tuning in. You can watch other programs. We have over like 200 programs available for folks to watch. And so we hope you tune into our future programs, upcoming programs going on. And thank you, and love and honor to everybody that tuned in. Take care.
Right. Thank you, Seth.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Chase.
Thanks all.
Thanks.
Best of luck to you, Kayla and Chase.
Thank you, Doug.
Man.